Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Dads on the Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Freddy Maas, and today's guest is a dad-to-be that reached out to me. He's got a little one on the way, and I'm very, very happy that he reached out to me. I'm very eager to meet and talk to new dads that I have no experience with, because it's like meeting a new friend for the very first time. I'm excited to learn a little bit about him and scare the ever-living shit out of him when it comes to being a parent. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Neftaly. As always, we begin with a toast, and today it's been a very long day. I did a brewery tour today, and the kids were just gigantic assholes, and my air conditioning went out today. So today I'm having whatever kind of bourbon I found in the cabinet. So, to you and everybody else, cheers out there. But more importantly, I want to hear about my guest today. So, Mr. Neftaly, I would like to hear a lot about you. So tell us about who you are, what you do, and anything that you like to share.
Oh, yeah, I'll start off with, first of all, I'm 24 and do for a living. I would be I currently work for a warehouse, but I am prior military. So it was huge, I can go on hours and hours about that, but but yeah, I got out, and now I'm back home, back to my hometown. Currently I'm not married, but I'm together with my lady. Planning to get married for sure, and we do have one little baby boy on the way, so we're excited for that. We're excited, scared, all types of emotions going on, man.
How far along is she?
She could be due tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So you guys are really close.
She's at 39 weeks. So she's got a due date of the 30th of this month. So
okay. So I mean, anybody that's listening right now, that's probably a day or so ago. So
yeah, she could be like already she could be like past labor by the time they hear this. So
oh man, that'd be funny if this came out and your baby boy was being born at the same time. That'd be awesome. I would take a little bit of credit for that, but not anything really. I'm curious, what branch of the military are you from? Because previous guest Paul was in the Marines. Previous guest Steven was in the Air Force. So I'm curious, what branch of the military are you?
Air Force as well. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a good time while I was in. I used to be in stationed up in North Dakota, so definitely cold.
Okay. Nice.
North Dakota, and I'm currently in Texas, and with this heat, man, it's just
it's brutal, and I'm sure you felt it when I said that the AC went out. Like, I'm currently in North Carolina, and it's really, really pretty as opposed to where I used to live in, which is South Florida. But this is really, really a time to have the air conditioning, and it's absolutely not. Like, I feel like Florida and Texas are really similar. Like, Florida's a little bit more humid and Texas is a little bit more dry, but they're right there neck and neck with how ungodly terrible it is to live there.
Jesus. Yeah.
All right. So you said that you are about to become a dad, and it's very, very close. Do you feel like you guys are prepared? Like, you guys have everything, like the bottles and the burp cloths, the wipes and the diapers? Do you guys feel like you have everything? Do you have people that have been telling you what to buy? Or are you guys just kind of, I have no idea what I'm doing? Like, where are you guys at with that?
Well, there's two answers to that. I feel like we kind of are at where we're supposed to be at regarding like having things ready and prepared for the baby. And at the same time, I feel like we're missing a lot of things. What could it be? I feel like it could be like anything as small from like, like a burp cloth or something, like an extra burp cloth that like everything's dirty right now and we don't have time to go wash clothes and stuff like that. Like, that's the type of like mentality that kind of like, gets me anxious and worried, and like, just trying to have it as smooth as possible for my lady and myself and the kid as well. So we're just kind of like, well, but no, I sent you a picture of the nursery, I think, on Reddit.
Yes, I got
the messages, so you can kind of like see like what we have, and like we could go over it. But I feel like we had everything. Thanks to family and friends, we have a crib and diapers, wipes. We had a baby shower last weekend, So that helped a lot of clothes, and stuff like that. But generally, yeah, I'd say we're like on a scale from 1 to 10. I feel like we're like at a good solid 8.5 of preparedness.
And it's funny. I feel like a lot of our previous guests on the show that have had kids in the last year or so, they're going to tell you, ha, 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 you have no idea what you're talking about or what you're in for, because, and it's not like in a demeaning way. It's like, it's funny because anything can come up. You have no idea. Like, you try your absolute best to prepare. Like, in the diaper bag, you throw a couple of extra, burp cloths, a couple of extra diapers, but you forget the wipes, or you forget, the formula or whatever. And that's something that I didn't even think about until just now. Like, we're going through a formula shortage. Like, I would love to hear about like what you guys are thinking about for that. So like, I'll get to that in a minute. But like, I think Arian is, he mentioned it in his episode, where you need to kind of not worry so much about what you have when you're out, because just because it's not what you have on you doesn't mean you can't get it. And like, tactical foraging is what he said it to be. Like, if you go out and you forget wipes, like, there's a CVS on every corner. Like, you can go out and get wipes. It's not a big deal. You might have the baby crying for an extra 15 minutes, but you'll get what you need, and it's not that bad. So it's not that serious. So I am the absolute opposite of that. Like, I would like to know that I have everything I have on hand, and if I don't, the world is going to end. But Arian kind of like breathed a little bit of fresh air into that. Like, don't worry about it so much. Like, you can have as much as you have, and you may still need something else. Like, you can prepare as much as you can, but there's something that you may still need. So, don't worry about it so much.
Yeah, the one thing that I guess I would like, my point of view, or my perspective on that would be, I so far preparing for welcoming our new our little one would be spreading out the cost more so, of being prepared. Diapers aren't cheap.
Yeah, for sure.
All that stuff isn't cheap, but nursery stuff can add up pretty quick. So we spread that out over a course of, I want to say, about 4 months, 5 months. So it wasn't too bad where it's just due for a bunch of $100 or $1,000 to like just prepare the coming home for the baby. But another thing is, like, not a lot. I feel like a lot of people, or because I'll be reading like other Reddit subreddits about parents and new parents and everything preparing, and they'll be buying all these like gadgets and stuff like that for like the baby, when in reality it's like, well, I mean, you can't, is there such thing as over preparing, or is there such thing as being under prepared? I feel like there's more of the case of being under prepared, right? Like, oh, this would have helped out with quality of life for the newborn and stuff like that, right? Well, I'm just gonna make it easy, but I think we're all gonna go through the thick stuff too.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like no matter who you are, no matter how prepared you are always going to be underprepared, because specifically, and I don't mean that like in a general sense, but the kids are going to be different. You can't judge every kid the same. And even if they're both from your own loins, it's a weird way to say it, but if they're both your kids, you don't necessarily have to treat them the same. Every kid is different. So, and you can't compare one to the other. So if you think that you're completely prepared, you're probably wrong. So
definitely. Just trying to make sure everything's good, though.
I mean,
the bare necessities, I think that's an important part too. The bare necessities, I think you can scrape by too.
Yeah, I mean, so long as you have those very minimal things, like you have the diapers and the wipes and the burp cloth and clothes and pacifiers. Once you get that, and food like formula and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and once you get to that point, I think you're okay. But, and also, here's another thing. Are you guys planning to use formula or breastfeed? Because that's what I was mentioning before. Like, there's a formula shortage, and I think they're coming out of it luckily now. But for a lot of parents, I'm sure that would have been terrifying for a long time. Like I was looking for friends that have newborn kids, like every time I went to Walmart or Publix or Lowe's or whatever, um, looking for their formula to see if they have it. And that's terrifying. I'm 4 states away, but I'm still like looking out for them. Like I
Yeah.
can't imagine what it is to be like a parent looking out for like not having food for your baby.
Yeah, it's something uh, um I refer to her as my wife, but my wife has been very worried about, she'll get anxious about it. Me, we live on a border, at the border, so I've looked at it and I'm like, well, we could always get, go to Mexico and get some formula. I've seen CDC websites say, oh yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, but I mean, when push comes to shove, you just kind of gotta,
That
get out
baby's
of
got to eat.
bounds. Yeah. And initially she didn't want to breastfeed, but then she saw, the formula shortage and things like that. And she's worried about like, I can't remember what the word is when you go like 50-50 on breastfeeding and formula.
Mhm.
So she's like, well, we could do that, stuff like that. So she's just worried about being able to not only provide from her body, but also the fact that, the baby's going to need formula. It's another way of them getting their nutrition. So I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, it's kind of like, it's not too bad. And I know we have family and friends looking out too. That's a good thing. So yeah, I mean, it is something to worry about, but is it something that's going to keep us from feeding our child? I don't think so. It's as long as it doesn't get worse, where they completely shut down and there's zero on the shelves. But yeah.
Well, that's good. And I feel like it's always better to go breast milk. And again, I feel like I should put this disclaimer out there. Um, this is not an advice podcast. Like I only speak from experience, but I feel like it's better to go breastfeeding. Number one, because it's cheaper. Number two, because it's natural. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with formula. Like my wife, in trying to breastfeed both of our kids, she couldn't produce, so they got nothing. So they were very, very heavy on the formula side, like 96, 97% formula on that one side, and that's okay. But I mean, you try to get anything that you can from breastfeeding. Anything that you can get breastfeeding, awesome. But if you can't, I mean, do the best you can. So I mean, ultimately rely on your pediatrician and what they suggest and everything like that. 100% rely on them, but you do what you can, trying to make sure that they're fed and not crying.
Yeah. I have what was you said you mentioned how your wife was had issues with the breastfeeding. How was it like I have how would you like be able to support her, or and I'm sure she was like wanting, I'm sure she wanted to, feed them or breastfeed them, but how were you able to like help cope with her, or support her?
So in the very beginning, on the first go around with my daughter, my wife would like do the pumping and try to put the baby on the boob. Just wasn't happening. And if you try to give somebody a meal and there's no food, they're going to cry, just like any one of us would do. So you supplement that with formula, right? But there are things that are way beyond me, that like pumping every so often, you're more likely to produce milk. We didn't know that at first. Like, okay, I wasn't getting up in the middle of the night to pump, so maybe that's a reason why I didn't produce, or maybe I wasn't as hydrated as I should have been. Like I wasn't drinking enough water to make the milk. You can't blame yourself. Sometimes it's just science. I mean, you can ask your
Yeah.
pediatrician or your own physician on how you could be doing better going forward. But I feel like more hydration would have helped. Waking up in the middle of the night to pump would have helped. Just like that routine and doing that. But she didn't produce anything. She felt bad about it, that she wasn't able to produce, and she felt like she was failing as a mother. And I said that's no healthy way to feel about it. It's common, I'm sure, in biology, and not your fault at all. But sometimes we need help, and this has probably been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're worried about when it comes to the first couple of stages being a parent? Like you have to know that you're not going to get a lot of sleep at first, that you have to learn how to change the diapers. And
Well, there's like a couple of points I'm worried about. Main one is keeping sanity. Keeping sanity throughout the entire newborn phase. My mom's giving me some pointers, like, you guys are gonna sleep a little less and stuff like that. Considering the fact that my lady's pregnancy has not been easy whatsoever for her. Vomiting in her entire pregnancy. She got these like this itching that she's gotten sores all over her body. Checked with the OBGYN and everything, and made sure that everything in her body levels are fine. Everything so far has been checked out. None, I think it's called cholestasis. None of that 37 weeks they have to pop the baby out. So it's not like a stillborn or something like that. So we're past that, thankfully. But she's still going through that, and she's just like, I want to get this baby out. so yeah, that's just a worry, like really the sanity itself, her mental health, and also we don't mind, but she's the one that's been real taking the total what do you say, truckload of the entire
yeah, she's taking the brunt of the issues. Yeah.
She's taking the brunt of the issue. So I think that's my main worry. But I mean, we got each other's back at the end of the day, so I know we'll push through it. Another worry is it goes back to the formula thing, which is something that can, if things were to economy and all that stuff, if it gets worse, I feel that's another worry. Being able to sustain a comfortable living, myself and our son. That's another worry. But the other ones are just, your typical, how crap, we need to go get diapers, we run out of diapers or wipes, or we need to go, like, those type of things that are going to be on the front end of like daily tasks of like, well, we need this, we need that, or oh no, we forgot this on an outing or something. But I mean, that's the least of the worries. But yeah, I feel like those two big points are the ones that really worry me.
It's terrifying because you have this whole new human that you have to be responsible for, and it's terrifying. I 100% agree. It is terrifying, especially on the first go around. Even on the second go around, when my second one came around, I'm like, I don't have any idea how to do all this because it's been 3 years. I forgot what it's like to handle a small child. But then, like, just for example, today I was out and about, and I saw a dad pushing the stroller, and he's got, like, I don't know, maybe a 2 or 3 month old in there, and I'm like, good God, like, I'm so glad I don't have to do that again. But it's so much easier because they're kind of like a big sock full of jello that you just put there, and they just exist there. And eventually they start to walk, they start to fall, they start to be curious about things and pointing things and start screaming for no reason. And then it gets really fun when I feel like I have two really interesting points in a child's life, is like the 1.5 where they can walk, they can run, they can fall, but they can't speak yet. They can have thoughts on their own, but they can't express it yet. Alternatively, my daughter, who's 4.5, she is incredibly smart. Her vocabulary is way better than it should be. So she can express all these things. She's essentially 9-10 years old, and she's only 4.5. Whereas my son, I don't know, he's still just a big old sack of jello. See, he's nothing. But it's so weird that you see like how different the kids are, like from like 4.5, 1.5, and now you guys are going to go from newborn to 6 months like that. I promise you, it's going to go so fast, and you're not even going to realize it.
Yeah, the one thing that my lady brings up a lot is like, we're gonna bring a stranger home. We're gonna bring a complete stranger home.
I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now that is not what it's going to happen. You are going to see that baby, and you will burn cities to the ground, making sure that that kid is safe. I assure you, it is not going to be like a stranger. It's going to be your lady will want that kid's safety more than yours. Like, she will push you in front of a bus to make sure that that kid is safe, and it's going to happen immediately. I promise you.
No, she's already said that. She was like, "I'm gonna do whatever it needs for this baby." I'm like, "Alrighty." So it's like, we're gonna bring. We're. I feel like that's one thing that, I can't really form a complete sentence, I guess, but it's like, it makes you tear up thinking about it. Like, for me at least, like, we're gonna bring someone that, we're gonna name this person and teach them, and then they're gonna learn, they're gonna speak, and then we're gonna fight, and they're gonna grow up.
Oh yeah.
It's just those things where it's like, man, it's thinking about it. I look back, I reflect in ways that, like my parents. I think about my parents a lot too. Like, what did they do to me, and what can I do better?
Yeah.
Now that I'm gonna be a parent, what can I do better? And I talk a lot about that perspective with my wife. So we kind of bounce back on each other a lot on that topic of, okay, well, what do you think, this and that? Like, I guess one thing that really opened my eyes a lot was, one day we were just sitting down, and I asked her, like, what's one thing, like what's one thing that you know about yourself that, lack of a better term, like, like it's a toxic trait, for example.
Right.
She says hers, and I say mine, and we both kind of bounce back on each other, and we're like, okay, well, that's something that we don't want to teach our child, for example. I was raised in a Christian household, things like that, where if you didn't meet this certain expectation, for example, not, you wouldn't be shunned, but you kind of feel like disappointment to your parents, for example. And it's a real ugly feeling, I think. So I would hate for our, it's bound to happen. I think, we're all human. We're gonna feel a lot of feelings and say things we don't truly mean. There's gonna be times where we're like, we said this and we said this, but we didn't mean it, or we meant this. Miscommunication. A lot of things down in life happen, but that's one thing I want to grip on and make sure that I, myself, and my partner, we set that in stone. Like, make sure that we don't like, we better ourselves within each other and ourselves independently, so we can teach, show better versions and better habits, traits, all that personality stuff, and also be, resiliency, all those good, soft skills, I would say. So that way they can be, not only just better, humans, but also just, be nicer to people, also be independent, strong, all that, good stuff, where, we all have our flaws, but just make sure that we don't transfer, like, I guess, I don't know if you've heard the term of like generational curses, or some people believe in that stuff, others don't. But it's like those things where we just, like, whether it's true or not, we just want to make sure we just kind of cut that off, so that way we can, like, improve within, our family, because it's a little family we're starting off already. So we'll make sure we start off, like, on the best foot possible.
And I absolutely see where you're coming from. My wife's family wasn't super religious. My family was. Like, we come from, like, Roman Catholic, where it's church every Sunday, Sunday school. Like, I served on the altar and everything. I come from that background, but I don't adhere to those beliefs anymore. So my family is in the same boat, where, like, they're in the very religious aspect, and I'm not so much. And I have no problem having my daughter go or my son go to Sunday school or going to church every weekend. It's just, I feel like I don't want to force that upon them. Like, I want that to be their call. I'm 100% ready to answer any questions they have, or, if they want to go to a mosque, if they want to go to temple, if they want to go to church, I don't really care. I'm happy to help them along the way. I just don't want to force anything on them like it was on me. And that was my biggest thing. So like I see that. And that's one of the things that I struggle with too. Like, I don't know if I'm making the right call when it comes to any kind of parenting decision. Like, there are things that come up with I'm worried about like my daughter going to a friend's house and I don't know what's there and it's unsupervised. Like, I'm not there having her go and have fun with a friend. And I
Yeah.
don't know, like, there's a lot of things around this age that you don't know what to do. And you just do the best you can, like, use your best judgment and do what's best for your kid. And I mean, we have no idea what the absolute hell we're doing. And our parents, I
Exactly.
think,
Yeah.
were the same way. And maybe we just try and do a little bit better. And kind of to your point where you said, like, what was something that you, not so much what your parents screwed up on, but like, what is something that your parents did that you want to improve upon?
Yeah.
And there are times when I yell at my kid because I'm at my wit's end, my patience is gone, and I yell at my kid and I say, I am my dad right now. And I back up and I say, what just happened? How
Yeah.
did I become my dad in 2 seconds? It was horrifying to me to see my dad in that angry, like, and my dad was great. He was, but like, I see when my temper is lost, and I see my dad in that too. So I see where like that generational thing comes into play.
Mhm.
And there's nothing you can do about it. It just happens. But yes, you do want to make better where you can.
Yeah, and just to dig in a little bit more on that subject is like, well, my mother, she said, you're gonna be a guide to this child, right? And my question was, it was a very open-ended question, like, where am I gonna guide them to? Like,
Yes.
what's the end goal exactly? Like, whether it be, you know, like it's such a vague question of where am I supposed to guide them, or is there even end goal of perfect parent, perfect, child and stuff like that. So like like I can't fathom an answer to that. It's still an open question to me. So it's those things where I'm like, okay, well, what do I want out of my child? And I'm like, well, I think that's a bad question, or the wrong question, because it's not about what I should want. It should be what they want, and how can I support that and help guide that, their goals, ambitions, and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, man, like, it is true, we are guides, but where are we supposed to guide them to? So
Um,
it's just,
and I will kind of tell you a secret that I found, among all parents, among all dads. We have no idea what we're doing. You do the absolute best you can. You make terrible decisions. You make great decisions along the way. You just do the best you can and try not to mess them up. But we don't know. Nobody knows. If you talk to a parent and say, "Yeah, I have all the right answers," they are probably a monster or an alien, and they are screwing with you. Um, it's no, they're. I mean, nobody knows what we're doing. We do the best we can. We use our best judgment and just try and raise good kids. That's all we're trying to do.
yeah.
So I wouldn't worry too much about it. So long as you go to bed at night thinking that you were the best dad that you could be for that day, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, I think just the question itself, I feel like that's something that one should be proud of now.
So here's my thing. Like, you are about to become a dad. Is there anything that you would like to know or anything that you're worried about? Um, and I admittedly don't have a whole bunch of experience, but I've done this twice now. fairly recently, but is there anything that you are curious about, anything that you're concerned about, anything that you have questions about that I can kind of guide you towards, or at least shed some light on for you?
Main concern would be just with my partner is, what recommendation or what worked out for you and your partner when you had a newborn? Um, did you guys have like a sleep cycle? Did you go back to work? And how did that work out?
So we were both off for the first month, and then my wife was off for an additional 2 months.
Sweet.
Those 2 months that I was not there was a little rough. Um, and not that it was bad that she couldn't handle it, but having two people on deck was significantly easier than just one. But at the very beginning, how we started, we had, and I would like this very clear, that we had no idea what we were doing. We did the best we could. We tried to figure out things that worked for us, and we listened to people's recommendations. We listened to podcasts kind of like this one. We had no idea what we were doing. And the biggest thing is you have to find that groove that works for you. That doesn't even rhyme, but you have to figure out what works for you guys. I think early on, and I can't remember if it was in the first 3 months or if it was shortly after that, my wife would do, God, I want to say like the 6 p.m. feeding, and then she would go to bed. And then I would do like the 9 p.m. feeding and changing. If, especially early on, if you feed them, change them, because it's much easier that way. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and you go through diapers, but feed them and change them. It works out that way. But she would do like the 6 or 7 p.m. feeding, and then I'd do like the 10 or 11 p.m. feeding and changing, and then I'd put her to bed, and then my wife would do the one overnight, and then I would get up early in the morning, like, only because I knew that I don't wake up at night. So I do like the latest possible one and the earliest possible one, so that I could get like a solid 6 hours.
Yeah.
That was what worked for us for a while. And I know that a lot of people don't do that, but it's what worked for us, because I'm a heavy sleeper, and that just happened to work for us. I know that there are couples that the mom would prefer to do every like overnight feeding, and then the dad would do during the day. Ultimately, it's what is working best for you guys. So just to give you a heads up, they eat every 3 hours to begin with. And it's not a lot. They'll eat and they'll probably go back to sleep right at the beginning, but it's going to change and it's going to alter, and you guys have to move along with it. You have to roll with the punches and kind of figure out what is working best for you guys and your son, and what the needs of your son are, and how to handle it.
That's definitely something I'd consider. Take it, because I had no idea what was going to happen. It's good to hear. My dad, when he had me and my brother and my sister, he didn't have any paternity leave. I'm taking PTO off. They don't have paternity leave. It's like something that sucks in the United States. Some companies have them. Others, I tried saving up as much as I can, but I'll take like the second week of my PTO.
Yeah.
A month after I start work again. That way, I can come back and be like, all right, let me come back and help you out.
Yeah.
But yeah, people at work are like, yeah, man, you're gonna come to work and you're gonna want to sleep. I'm like, that's fine. I know a lot. I feel like sometimes I might take it like a little, like, it's fine. I'll manage it. Which, I mean, everybody has to. Well, it's not gonna fall apart because you don't get sleep. But I mean, I got to tell my lady, I just need 4 hours of sleep and I'm good. I'm good for the next 24 hours. So, hold on.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know that you're young, young-ish when, compared to me right now. You're gonna get it. You'll roll with it, and you're gonna be tired. But this is the beginning of the next chapter of your life. Like I remember being your age and being out, at the bars and hanging out with friends. And this was 10 years ago. We were playing Rock Band at night, but um it was different. It was like going out and partying and everything, starting to go out at 10 o'clock at night. And now if I am still awake at 10 o'clock at night, like right now as we're recording, man, I better be doing something worthwhile because I should be in bed. it's
You're like
it's
this
it's
sleep's
different,
gold.
man. You just, it's weird how quickly you turn into your parents in some aspects. So
Yeah,
it's just different. It's growing up. It's weird and it's terrible.
man. Talking about turning into our parents. When we first moved into to our apartment, I was telling my lady, I was like, I need a recliner. My dad's always had a recliner in his room or in the
A
living room.
dad chair. I
And
think
I'm
that
like,
every home should have a dad chair. I
yeah,
absolutely
that's what I'm
agree.
saying.
And nobody else
Just
is
come
allowed in
home
it.
and sit down for like at least 30 minutes before
Before you fall asleep in it and then you have to get up to bed.
yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll get you one, like, when we get a bigger apartment or we can fit it somewhere here. We have an oversized sofa. I love it, but I've always liked the idea of a recliner.
All right. Is there anything that you're looking forward to about becoming a dad, and not so much in the beginning part, because the beginning part is going to suck. And I'll tell you right now, once your son is, and I can only speak from experience because I know that once my daughter hit 3.5, 3 to 3.5, it was awesome. First few years kind of suck, and it's unfortunate that I say that because it feels like forever, and I'm in that again now with my son. But it goes by so fast, and I know it's cliche and it's ridiculous to say, but it goes by so fast. And now my daughter, like, we joke about things and she plays video games and I'm not even there and she knows how to turn it on. It's really weird, but it's really, really great. But is there anything that you are looking forward to about being a dad?
I'm just looking forward to spending time with them, making memories. Like I'm all about spending quality time with, you know, people I love, whether it be my parents, my lady, or, now my son. It's like, man, I don't know, I'm gonna have a good time. I got a little fishing buddy. I got a little, I got everything now. It's my best friend there. So I'll be, I'll definitely be taking him out and stuff like that, going fishing, and that's just my favorite thing to do. And I hope he loves fishing as much as I do. And if he doesn't, he's getting dragged along either way.
And it's kind of funny, like you get to kind of mold their interests a little bit. Like, sure, they'll, once they get a mind of their own, they'll figure out what they want. Like my daughter likes princesses, but she also likes Spider-Man. And I mean, you can see where the her mommy is and her daddy is. So um but no, like, you can mold your kids into your own interests, because that's something that you can share with them, and it's not in a bad light. Like, you can't say you're gonna like baseball whether you like it or not. But like, just something fun for you guys to do and have them enjoy it. What, like, this is something that I wanted to ask you about because I know that you had mentioned to me prior to us recording tonight, but do you traditionally do like fresh or saltwater fishing?
I mean, I've done a lot more freshwater fishing, but I love saltwater fishing. I feel like it's a whole different ball game. I think it's just awesome.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think it's two different worlds. Like, and I think as a dad, like, depending on where you come from, like, fishing is either nothing or a really big thing and a really fun thing for you. Like, one of my favorite quotes, and I can't think of exactly what it is, but it's something along the lines of, so many men go fishing never knowing that it's not actually fish they're in search of. Um, and that is one of my favorite things because it's like guys go fishing sometimes early in the morning just to go for the solitude, just to be quiet, and they
Oh
don't
yeah.
exactly know, they don't really care if they get fish that day. It's just being in the quiet and being alone with their thoughts, and that's their time to do what they want. And the mindless things of like putting a hook on a line things like that, putting bait on a hook that you don't really care if you catch fish or not. Sure, it's
Yeah.
fun, but it's more about the being able to reflect, and we don't admit that enough. But I think it's more of that. That's our time to sit and be in our own head.
Yeah, just self-reflect. That's the main reason I started fishing realistically.
Yeah.
I went through a divorce and all that stuff 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
about almost 3 years ago, roughly. Um, and I just, we have a lake here in my hometown, and I just, went, started, I bought like the cheapest ugly stick I could find at Academy, and I went and just, sat down, and I was like, man, it's real quiet, it's real nice, and that's the main reason I started. It's to be able to self-reflect and get your mind off of things, or even think about stuff a little bit more solid thinking. More. And slowly and surely, I started enjoying it just for the sport of it, and then I found a really good mix between it. It's I introduced fishing to my lady now, and she loves it for the adrenaline. But I'm like, well, she hasn't figured out the fact that there's another reason to it,
Yeah.
like you say, and stuff. But I feel it's more like a man thing, why are you fishing out so much and all this stuff. It's like, well, you don't understand, so you don't, it's those things where it's like you want to enjoy memories and make memories with people, but also it's like, oh, I want to go fishing by myself and just enjoy the quietness, the peace, and the solitude. So that's my main reason why I fish. Just enjoy yourself, but also there's a country song where it's like she thinks we're just fishing, but it's something else to other people. It's like, we're enjoying. I took my dad fishing. He's never taken me fishing. He's taken me hunting, and I love hunting. I hate it. I'm a morning person, but I hate it waking up at like 4 in the
Yeah.
morning just to get at the ranch at 7 in the morning. It's like, what are we doing? I enjoyed it. Did I love it? Not really, but I love the memories that we made. So now that I'm gonna be a parent, it's something that, regardless if he doesn't like anything, he comes, and then later in life we're gonna be able to speak about it. I remember that time. Make good memories and stuff like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's the type of dynamic I had with my dad, and it's good memories. And now he's like, well, let's make more memories. I'm like, well, hunting and all that stuff, it's kind of out of the picture now, but we can definitely go fishing. So I took him fishing. He hates it, but if we're on a boat, well, he loves it.
I can tell you, like, maybe that may not be his thing, but he's with you, and he's very
Yeah.
happy. Just think about like you with your own son, like maybe in the next like 18-20 years, and he wants to bring you along with him. Like, just think about that. Like, maybe your dad doesn't want to play Fortnite, but he's very happy being with you, and that's what's really important. It's just like trying to share in that fun time with you. Like, maybe that's not your thing, but like I didn't really like fishing growing up, but it was more so about like spending time with my dad, because my dad loved fishing, and now that I'm older, I like fishing more than I ever did growing up.
Yeah.
But now it's more about like I think about that solitude, but I also think about my dad. Well, that's our show, everybody. Thank you very much, Neff, for being our guest today. One of the things that I like to do is give my guests the last words of the show. So if there's anything that you like to send our listeners off with, now's your chance. So let's hear it.
It was awesome meeting you. It was awesome talking about those points we touched across. Answered my questions and gave good advice. Um, I'd be definitely down to check back in like a couple months maybe, see how everything's been going. So yeah, definitely awesome podcast. Everything. I hope other people, other dads or soon to be dads, are able to find this and take what they can out of it. So they could be successful fathers and handle things a little bit with ease. And I think this is something that should be a little bit more spread out, so we can help each other as fathers, and yeah, help our partners too.
Well, I'm really glad that you feel that way, and I'm really glad that you got something out of it. And I'm very eager to help anybody else and talk to anybody else, new dads, seasoned dads alike, just dads talking, and that's the whole point of the show. So, and absolutely, in a few months after your son is born, I would love to check back in with you and see how things are going. So, to everybody out there, cheers. Good night.
Good night, Daddy.